'cause it's time for Ringside. Got a bunch of news lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen, so without further ado, we're just gonna In an interview with E! News that was released on Tuesday, February 13th, The Rock says he came back to WWE to, quote, create the biggest WrestleMania event of all time, the biggest match of all time between myself and Roman Reigns. It's not clear when the interview was recorded, but many are taking it as confirmation that WWE changed plans for the main event of WrestleMania XL after fans rejected a Rock/Reigns match in support of Cody Rhodes. But then if you look at it from the other side, I am taking it as kayfabe. So The Rock is going in, right? And he's like, we're doing the match versus Roman Reigns. It's going to be Rock versus Roman. It's going to be a bloodline match. It's a match that people want to see. I'm a new board member of TKO, right? I want to make sure that the match is as good as it could possibly be. I want to get as many butts and seats as possible because I'm not the owner, but I'm one of the, we'll say stockholders. He's one of the holders. He's holding something for TKO, right? So I want to make sure that this makes the most amount of money possible, right? It is Rock, Roman, that's what you want. And then Cody comes in and Cody says, well, hold on a second, I want to be in the match. And the Rock's like, grumble. It's like having three brothers, and you're we'll say The Rock is the older brother and Roman is the middle brother, and Roman has finally gotten good enough on like Madden or like NBA or something, right? Or 2K, right? And he's like, all right, finally, you've gotten your skill and we can finally face each other. And then your little brother comes in and is like, I want to play too. And you're like, no, and your mom is the face. Your mom's like, you haven't let him play that game all day. It's just been the two of you. He's been asking me to play it. And they do the thing where they talk through their teeth and plug the controller in and let him play. It's like, ugh. I think that's what's happening here. But like in kayfabe, Rock wants to face Roman at WrestleMania, and Roman wants to face Rock at WrestleMania because of the bloodline match and all that. And then Cody comes in and goes, no, I want to face you at WrestleMania. It's messing it up. It's messing the flow up. So Rock is like offended, especially because Cody was like, well, also, your family thinks you're bad. Your family thinks you're crap. And The Rock is like, who is this guy? You come in here with your nightmares and your woes and all that, and you're butting in front of me and my brother here, right? I don't think they're blood brothers. You get the point. We're supposed to be doing this match for the betterment of the company. We're supposed to be curing the blindness and helping the disabled walk. And you're over here walking in here saying, oh, I want to be in a match. Who are you? And I think that's what's going on here. I think the kayfabe reason is that Rock is like kayfabe genuinely upset that Cody has pushed himself into the main event. And that's where I think this storyline is stemming from. And that also, I think, is what they meant when they were like, hey, we're going to try and make this a little bit more realistic. So we're going to pull back on the telling you if it's kayfabe, if it's not type deal, which I think is a great idea, and I would like to see more of this. Next, after speculating earlier this week that Drew McIntyre signed a new contract with WWE, PW Insider has learned that the deal isn't signed yet, so negotiations could still break down. Their latest report does say both sides want to get a deal done, and WWE is operating under the assumption McIntyre will be around long term. I could assume that a piece of bread that I leave out for 12 hours isn't going to go bad, but I don't know that 100%. I could assume that if I put my cat in a box, he could also be dead and alive at the same time, but I don't 100% know that. Just because you assume that Drew McIntyre is going to stay on with you long term doesn't immediately mean that. Anything could happen. Something could fall on his head and he could be like, well, why am I still with WWE? Why have you not signed a new deal yet? That's why I was so confused yesterday, or last episode. Because they were like, oh, he's going to be in a show in Italy all the way down in May. So that means that he's assuming he's still going to be with the company. It's like, well, first of all, like I said, it could just be a house show. It could be nothing. It could be, they called him down there because they needed him to get something on the top shelf or something. It could not be that significant. Just because he's showing up to a house show, presumably, and I don't know what it could be, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's why I was like, well, he could not stay. And that's why I still feel like this, is because he's not signed. So he could legally, he could do whatever he wants. He could just walk out if he really felt like he's not binding to anybody. He can leave. He's staying out of the good graces, which, fine, right? I see nothing wrong with that. That's not the issue. It's just, what's happening here? I don't understand. Why are you not signing a new deal yet? They want to come to a new deal, but whatever the deal is being brought to them, or Drew or WWE, one of you, doesn't like it. Very confusing. What is going to happen in like the next couple months? Well, he's signed, actually still signed until like a little bit after Mania, I think. But if it's like, okay, we're just gonna wait till Mania, why? Why not just do it right now? Why not just do it right now? I don't understand what's stopping them. So hopefully it's nothing serious, because that's the only thing I can think of is that it's some sort of super, important, non-binding, like obligation or something on one of their parts where it's like, okay, well, we can't do this yet until like you do that or I do this or something. Because other than that, I genuinely have no idea why he still has not signed. Sticking with WWE, despite his winning the NXT tag titles with Baron Corbin this week, PW Insider says Braun Breaker is still set for a main roster call-up and is scheduled to be at SmackDown this Friday. I hope that this means that they're still going to be defending the titles. They're just going to be doing it on like NXT and SmackDown. I'm hoping that like they aren't just yanking Baron along here with the title still attached to them. It wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I'm hoping that this doesn't cause any type of confusion and there's a lot less. I just don't want this to muddy anything up. I'm so happy that he's in the main roster. I'm so happy that he won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I love when storylines like work like that, where like it's one storyline like helps another storyline along and then it also develops that storyline. Like I like when that happens, right? And I don't want Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker to have the titles and all that just because the Carmelo Hayes and Triple H storyline is still going on. I want that to be its own. I want both of them to exist within a vacuum and have starts and finishes. And I don't want Baron Braun, going up to the main roster and Baron just sort of tagging along and being like, just not really saying anything about the tag titles or defending them or anything like that. I hope that maybe this has something to do with like a storyline or something. My biggest worry is that Braun shows up and he's doing all these other matches and they're still mentioning and he's a tag team champion, but like they defended it significantly less than they have before. So that's really my only worry, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So I don't think that there's like too much to worry about. Moving over to TNA, regarding reports of recent budget increases and production upgrades for TNA, Fightful select sources at Anthem tell them, quote, many were actually related to software upgrades more than anything else. The sites also heard that while they haven't changed TNA's schedule, Anthem is looking to cut costs at TNA this year. Cut costs? Could mean anything. Maybe it just means that they're going to switch over to like gluten-free Pop-Tarts in the vending machines. Maybe they're going to put in the energy-saving little coil bulbs than the fluorescent ones. Maybe that's what they mean. Let's not immediately assume that they're just going to start butchering TNA and they're just going to call it TN and cut the A off or something. Let's not just immediately assume that something horrible is going to happen here. Okay, let's be calm, civil, let's keep a level head. All right, Anthem wouldn't do anything. And now Anthem, you're not going to do anything crazy, right? This company just got back into the good graces, right, of the mainstream wrestling media. I don't know what I'm talking about. The point I'm trying to make is that they are back to a point where everybody was going to have a lot of eyes on them, and they sounded as though they were going to have a lot of like plans, and a lot of people were signing. A lot of good was about to come out of TNA. A lot of wonderful things was going to happen. And now Scott D'Amore's gone, and there's another piece of information that I can't reveal just yet, but I will in the next couple moments, right? There's a lot happening here, and it's not boding well, at least from what I am interpreting here. It's not boding well. It makes me feel like Anthem is gonna maybe, rough TNA up just a little bit too much. Leave a couple marks and bruises and scrapes where they didn't mean to, and it's not going to look good. And a lot of people are going to be turned off to watching TNA because of the way that Anthem is treating it right now. It's worrying me, and hearing that they're going to cut costs worries me even more. But I don't want to immediately assume it's the end of the world and assume that they're going to cut costs in areas that they don't need to. Explains why D'Amore was a little bit upset, right? And if I remember correctly, he was upset about where they were putting their money. So this, again, I'm a little bit apprehensive about what Anthem is going to start doing with TNA. But you know what? I'm going to be positive as I can be. And let's just assume that Anthem isn't going to do anything crazy, all right? Finally, while he was still involved with TNA prior to Scott D'Amore's firing, House of Wrestling says Anthem exec Ed Nordholm is, quote, also no longer actively working on the TNA brand. The site sources tell them Nordholm and D'Amore were, quote, very close. Now, before, when we were talking about the budget cuts and all that, and I was like, oh, you know what, maybe it's just something that they're, like, doing. There's nothing to worry about, right? All of a sudden, you find out that Ed Norm just so happened to be close with Scott D'Amore, and boom, just like that, he's gone too. Odd. Very odd that they only fired 2 people. And the 2 people that they fired just so happen to be, you know, buddy-buddy with each other. They happen to accidentally touch hands and they were both going for the Snickers bar. That sure is funny. No one else seems to have gotten fired, at least from what I can tell. Unless they've been doing it hush-hush under the radar, which, that's odd. Very strange that they've owned the only main people that they fired so far. Meanwhile, okay, Anthem exec Ed Nordholm, he's not part of it anymore either. So really doesn't matter what your position is. If they don't like you, then you're out of there, really, right? Which I'm not gonna say this too much because I've already been talking about this ad nauseum. It's a plan, folks. All right, they've been planning this from the jump. Obviously, Ed being close with D'Amore meant that Ed might have shared a couple, like, you know, opinions and similarities that Scott had. Maybe Ed being like, oh, you know, I was talking to Scott, and this doesn't seem like something that he'd be a fan of. Schwink, get out. Be gone. Be gone with you. I don't need you here, muddying things up, getting your feet print all over the place. Okay? I don't understand that. I'll never understand that. I'm not going to talk about it too much because, again, I've already spewed enough about how all of this is planned, and all of this is one big, you know, corporate-wide movement that they're trying to pretend as though, you know, happened completely naturally. You know what I mean? We just so happened to park one car behind him and one car in front of him when he was at the checkpoint or whatever. You know? That just so happened. Sad thing, right? Oh, loved him like a brother. Sad thing that happened to him, but you know what? These things just happen, and that's just how you gotta deal with it. And he goes back to what he's doing. It's all planned, all right? Don't even give me the, oh, you know, it's a new step in the process. Yeah, all right, step on someone in the process. Give me a break. What are we talking about? All right, so I think that this is all part of the storyline. I think that The Rock is basically trying to hammer home the fact that he thought it was going to be him and Roman at WrestleMania. Cody's butted in, talked about his family. Now they got to smack him up. All right, don't understand why McIntyre still isn't signed. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't understand if they're doing it for storyline purposes, and if they are, it's still very odd that this is happening and nobody's mentioning it, you know? So, very confused as to this whole thing. All right, so Braun is going onto the main roster. I don't want this to get in the way of any title, title championship plans or anything like that. I doubt that it will. I'm just a little bit worried. Despite his winning, no. In a post on X before last night's Dynamite, Tony Khan revealed the show will be getting a new set after next month's Revolution pay-per-view. Great. Hopefully it's good. Don't want it to be more panels. Kind of uninspired, but that's just my opinion. Regarding reports, okay, so remember, this was all a plan. It was all a ruse. It was all a setup from the literal beginning. They brought him in. They said, you like ziti? We got ziti. Sit down and have some ziti. And then they got the wire behind him. They got him. Him and Nordholm. You know, they knew what they were doing, man. They got them both out of there. Whether they fired other people or not, my point still stands that they fired both of them because they were in cahoots. They were cavorking together, and they didn't like that. All right? They were so completely against that. All because they were under the assumption that one of them was giving plans to the other one and making the other one influence their thought or whatever. It's all a ruse, man. Can't believe this. And there's nothing you can do about it because they make billions of dollars. So... man, I'm worried about TNA. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit worried, but I'm gonna be optimistic. All I'm saying is, okay, don't trust big business. Don't ever trust big business. Folks, on that note, that's gonna do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.